Yep.
Welcome to the KO Boxing Show. Haven't we got a massive show tonight? None other than one of our favourites, Jonny Two Guns Walker. He was a WBC Oriental champion, IBF Australasian champion, Victorian Super Middleweight champion, and he also won a massive fight over Yakashori Nishizawa, who fought for 2 world titles and dropped Marcus Bayer and also dropped Anthony Mundine. Jonny Walker, welcome to the KO Boxing Show.
Hello, Pete. Good to be back on your show. It's been a while.
Mate, it has. Let's go over some memories of you, because I remember you as a young amateur at Kevin Hargraves's gym, but I know you started with Cliff Chamberlain. Let us know, how did that all begin, starting with Cliff Chamberlain?
Yeah, so I went, Cliffy Chamberlain obviously had the Williamstown boxing gym. I was obviously born and bred Williamstown, Newport area. So yeah, Cliffy was a pretty well-known boxing trainer in the area. And I ended up down there when I was 14, 15, after doing a bit of kickboxing. And yeah, I mean, Cliffy's a tough old trainer. He taught me what I needed to know early. And I think I was only there a couple of weeks, and he broke my nose when I was 14, 15, and he done that as a test to see if you're coming back or not. And obviously we come back, and never left after that. What
a tough test. And Wally Rahim was there as well. I remember there was Wally there, and his son was also a fighter.
His son Charles Chamberlain. He had a few fights, and Wally Rahim, he was another tough pro fighter back in the early 2000s. So
Southpaw, if I can remember right, on Wally.
That's right.
You crossed over to Port Melbourne with Kevin Hargraves, and he trained me as well, so we know how tough a sort of role master he was. He was no nonsense. What was the difference in gyms going across to Port Melbourne?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just, Cliffy Chamberlain, like he taught me the hard lessons of boxing, as in, like he'd make us run 12, 15 Ks on a summer's day before we started training. When I went over to Mick and Kevin Hargraves over at Port Melbourne, it was more, I already had the dash and had the heart, but they put a bit of skill on top of it, had me move my head and try and miss a few punches and hit with a few more than they give me, rather than just walk up and take a beating to give a beating sort of thing. So that was obviously the biggest change. They obviously put some skill into my boxing, and that's where I finished my amateur career and turned pro under Kev. Yeah,
because I remember you fought Dylan Goddard at Collingwood Town Hall. It was a pro-am, and Kevin, because I was very close with Kevin, he said, "Oh mate, you've got to see Jonny Walker fight. He's fighting a guy called Dylan Goddard." And you guys, I think, were the main event just before the pros started. And mate, Dylan Goddard's such a terrific fellow. What a cracking fight! And I remember thinking, this should have been, these blokes are fighting better than the pros. This should have been a pro fight. You actually stole the show. It was like a massive performance, and it was a great way to get introduction into the pros by doing that day. I can remember that clearly.
Yeah, it was a good fight. I remember going into that fight. Obviously, me and Dylan are like best of mates these days, but back then we didn't know too much about each other. I knew he was a kid from the country. I think he was coming off, he had like 13 straight amateur fights, 13 knockouts. And obviously we seen that as a good test for us, because obviously we wanted to turn pro. We'll probably, at that stage, we were over the amateurs. And that fight, it was a bit of bad blood, you know what I mean? We didn't have much respect for each other. And we went out there, and it was a tough fight. He hit me with everything he had, and I hit him with everything he had, and I got the decision. But that was a tough fight. Like you said, we stole the show. We were probably the best fight of the night that night, me and Dill.
Yeah, so sure.
Yeah, so that it was a good intro into the pros, because that was a pro fight pretty much itself. You know what I mean? So so
not long after that, Jonny, 18th of June 2004. So it's coming up to 18 years now. It's pretty much in the next 6 weeks. You turned pro and fought Paul Burke at Collingwood Town Hall, same venue. What can you remember about that?
Yeah, well, I remember fighting Paul Burke. I remember I fought him as an amateur, and he got me in the amateurs. He got me on points in the amateurs. It was one of them amateur fights where I thought I won, but obviously he got the decision, so you take it as you do. So when I had the opportunity to fight him as a pro, I wasn't going to let the same thing happen. I think that was a second round knockout, wasn't it, Pete?
Yeah, I remember you landed some big body shots.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah,
went in the fight. I went into that fight with bad intentions. I mean, Kevin, Mick Hargraves, and yourself, and that had me that revved up in the back rooms. I mean, I don't think too many people were going to stand in front of me that day.
yeah, yeah, mate. It was a great night, and Pierre Karam, I think, fought the main event. My memory serves me right. The
Yeah,
after
that's right,
party,
he did.
the after party was massive, Johnny. But you were just starting, and we weren't going to take it to the after party. It was the Hugo.
No, I
Would have ruined your
I
career, really.
got into the after parties a bit later on in my career, Pete, as we know. Yeah.
Mate, let's go. You won the super middleweight title at Festival Hall, the House of Stoush. What can you remember about that? What a great place to win your first title, Victorian super middleweight title.
Yeah, that was a big night for me, Pete. I was only young. I was coming off a loss to Tiger Timbao, and we got the Victorian title shot. I dropped down to super middleweight for that fight. I fought Tiger at light heavy, and it was probably a bit early for me to go up to light heavy. And yeah, so I went down. That was a big Pete, because the fight at Festival Hall. I mean, I grew up, like, obviously my dad and that watching TV ringside, and that was all done at Festival Hall. So that was a great venue. It was a good promotion that you put on that night, and that was sort of my intro to, that was my first title in the pro rankings. So that was my that was my big intro into the pro world. It was on a big stage,
You won the fighter of the night as well, which was a massive achievement. So you got
it was just,
fighter of the night too. So that, I remember that clearly. After that, mate, you fought and you won an IBF Australasian title, and then you fought also a WBO Oriental title. You won 3 divisions in 3 different weight classes, which is testament to you. Super middleweight, you won a title. Light heavyweight, you won a title. Then you went up to cruiserweight. Tell us how Nishizawa was, because, I mean, this guy was a serious player. He fought for 2 world titles. He fought for a WBA world title against Anthony Mundine, had him on his pants, and he also went to Germany and fought Marcus Bayer, and they had him on his pants in the second round. So you're fighting, a world-class opponent here that's fighting for world titles. How was that build up for you?
Yeah, I remember Angelo Hyder and yourself put that together. Got that shot for us, and that sort of come at a little bit late notice. That's why it was a cruiser. It was meant to be a light heavyweight. Obviously, Nishi wasn't going to make the light heavyweight, so we went up to cruiserweight. It was more of a catchweight at 84 kilos, which put us into the cruiserweight division. Yeah, that was massive, Pete. I mean, that fight. I mean, for his age, I think when I fought him, he was 40 years old, and I remember saying I wouldn't want this bloke in his 20s because he was tough as nails, but he was it was a war, That was probably one of the hardest fights. I believe I've had harder spars through my career, but that on a big stage against a top opponent, that was probably one of my hardest fights. And we got the win, and yeah, I mean, I'll take my hat off to Nishi in that. I know he's still involved in the boxing over there now. I think he's got a lot to do with the Olympic team and that. So
I bumped into him in Japan in 2019. We spoke about you. He still remembers you. He was shaping up and laughing and said, what a great person you were and what a great fighter. And you got rated in the top 10 in the world after that with all the organisations. What was that like, being a world-rated fighter and seeing your name across the whole world in the rankings?
Yeah, I mean, it was massive, Pete. As you know, at the time I lived for boxing, and one of my biggest regrets is probably not continuing on after that. Obviously, I retired after that fight. I had a lot of personal stuff going on and outside of boxing, and it sort of it took my attention away from the fight game. So, I mean, that's probably one of my biggest regrets now. Obviously, like you said, we got a top 10 world rank in the WBO. And I think at the time, Roy Jones was number 1. So that sort of showed you where we were at. And
no, you were 27, weren't you, Johnny? You would have been 27, 28. You were at
I was 28 years old. I was 28 years old. Had a few. Yeah, I was at my peak, especially after that fight. But just had other things going on, and
getting sidetracked. And that's what I'd like to do this interview, because obviously you love boxing. And growing up, Johnny, who was your idol? It would have been Mike Tyson, would have been someone else.
100% Mike Tyson. I had him painted. I had a airbrush painting of him on my wall, since I was like 12 years old.
You probably ended up like Mike, getting all the glory in boxing and going off the rails. And but now you're a role model just like Mike. Let's go into that. What advice would you have for boxers where you kind of get the limelight and then you start getting friends that just want to be around fighters that take you out and show you a good time, and they just want to associate yourself with you. And you know the fight game, Jonny, you've got to be up at 6 a.m. You've got to do the road work. There's no shortcuts. You think there's shortcuts, but you've got to stay hungry, because that's what got you where you were. Once you start going to parties and after parties and that, it becomes a downward spiral, doesn't it?
100%, Pete. I mean, at the start of my career, as you know, like when I first turned pro, you wouldn't have found me at an after party.
No,
You know what I mean?
I didn't see you at any.
No, you never would have seen me at an after party. Obviously, later on in the career, you start hanging around certain boys and friends that have been around for a bit, and you start. I mean, I've been doing this hard work. I was doing that hard work since I was 14 years old, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going running, 10 to 12 Ks, coming back, having a little bit for breakfast, then going out to do some sort of weight training and be back in the boxing gym at 4 o'clock. I mean, that went on until I was 28, obviously, until I retired. I mean, I think I don't believe it's just boxers, but I believe all professional athletes get to a point where it's like a breaking point, and you feel like you go out and have a couple of nights out on the town to have some fun with the boys that have been supporting you and hanging out with you, and think, this is the life. This is, I mean. But only advice I could give, Pete, I mean, everyone knows what their limit is. I mean, I believe I probably retired a couple of fights too early, but in saying that, I mean, I don't regret. I haven't got massive regrets. I mean, everyone knows. You know when your time's up, Pete. I mean, you can't have anyone tell you have one more, have 10 more. You'll know. They'll know when their time's up. And end of the day, you want to live happy too. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the training and the boxing, it's all glory and it's all good at the time. But if you're not happy doing what you're doing, you just got to step away. Step away and do what makes you happy. End of the day, the family comes first. I mean, I'll probably put my family second my whole boxing career, but end of the day, you got to sacrifice to get where you want to get. And I think once I got there and I got that world ranking, I was happy to walk away when I did.
But the thing with you, John, you weren't only like a world-class fighter, but you're a world-class person, because you built the gym at Tarneet basically when you had time. You involved people that you don't really need to involve. You're a team captain. And that's one thing that I noticed when I used to come into the gym. You'd come in and you'd be the guy that was a skipper straight away. That's why I know when you went to the bicycle club, I said straight away, this guy's going to be the captain. I knew that straight away. Within a year, because that's the type of person you are. You're a leader and you're not selfish and you're very fair, but you're very tough. So I saw those leadership qualities in boxing. So I knew it was going to carry on to the motorcycle club. What was it like being involved and being the captain of a motorcycle club compared to boxing?
Yeah. I mean, obviously,
rules.
Same. Listen, with the biking clubs, it's the same morals. I mean, they're stand-up people, they're stand-up blokes, and they only respect stand-up blokes. I mean, so obviously, I mean, I didn't joining the bike club. I never changed my colours or changed who I was. I mean, I was always the same person, and I've always been a leader, Pete. Even in the boxing gyms, and like you said, I've always stood up and taken the lead, and that's where I feel I'm at my best. I'm not really a good follower. I'm better off leading. You know what I mean? So, yeah, when I went over to the biking club, I mean, that was a completely different lifestyle to what I was used to. But like I said, after all them hard years of training, and you go into a set of partying and women, and I mean, it's a whole nother world, isn't it? But it was a world that opened up my eyes and let me see it for what it is. And I've got even with that, I've got no regrets. But obviously, then I went to prison for 7 years, and I've come out now. And obviously a whole completely different mindset, sort of back to the mindset I was back during my fight career. But now I want to give back to others. I mean, that's why I'm down Tarneet Boxing Gym, helping Daniel Roberts and a few good amateurs we've got down there that will come up into the pro ranking soon, and Dave Heggett and Andrew Woodall. So
yeah, great guys, Dave Heggett and Andrew. Because I bump into Dave. I sent him an Indian boxer down there. I don't know if he's Jim Nalloway. I don't know if he's still there anymore, but he was working at Tarneet. We had a good chat with Dave, and he said the times when we were all promoting and we were all together and it was you, he said they were the best days of my life, not only of boxing, of our lives. And when we look back at it, Johnny, how lucky were we? We sort of had our own little crew and we were doing our own thing. We were winning titles and we weren't getting in anyone's way, but it was just a terrific lifestyle and we were all mates. We all had each other's back.
Yeah, Pete, back then, I mean, like I said, I've been away for seven and a half years. I haven't been involved in the boxing, but you know, the crew we had back then, myself, you, Luke Maloney, Shane McMahon, Eddie Dalek. Just some big names, some big fighters on the cards. You know what I mean? The Porky Lovetts and
Porky.
I mean, you know, Tiger Tim Bell. I mean,
Shannon McMahon, Luke Maloney.
Yeah, Shannon, 100%. And you go through them names, and you're not going to have it. I mean, we'd have a 5-6 card fight night just with all their names. You're not going to have a dull moment with them fighters on the card, you know.
Not a vacant spot because you'd sell all the tickets. There would be no tickets.
Yeah, we'd sell,
and you'd sell them out straight away.
Yeah, they'd be gone, wouldn't they? And it was a good. I mean, it was a good. I mean, Malvern Town Hall. I mean, you got you see, there's a lot of big promotions around now, but I mean, I take myself back to Malvern Town Hall. It was the tough old school boxing. It was a bit like the TV ringside days. I mean, there was no glamorous ring walk. There was no glamorous, you know, sunglasses wearing, dancing to the ring. It was serious. It was old school boxing at its best. You know what I mean? At Malvern Town Hall, and you know, I mean, I'd never trade that for none of this glamorous stuff I see now. I mean, I'm old school. You know, half time I come out with no robe on anyway, ready for action. You know, so
yeah.
You had you're getting there to fight at the end of the day. Doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah. And getting back to the gym now, obviously some good fighters there. Has the training techniques changed, Johnny, or is it still, does Dave still implicate the same training stuff, or have you noticed some changes with modern technology?
Yeah, no, it's definitely changed. I mean, Andrew Woodall and Dave Hegarty have definitely gone with the times. I mean, obviously I was still used to the old school pad work, you know, walking forward, you know, wear a couple to give a couple. That's all changed now. You know, obviously they get them on their toes and they teach the boys, you know, to get in, get out, get in, get out. I mean, it's a smart way of boxing. It's probably not my style of boxing because I only know one way, and that's in your face, and we're going to go at it. But yeah, no, it has changed. I mean, like I said before, I believe the whole boxing world has changed. It's not the same old style. And I mean, it's probably for the better. I mean, if you can hit and not be hit, I mean, that's smart boxing. I mean, back when we were fighting in the 2000s, early 2000s, and that it was more just who's got the biggest balls, you know. It was more like it was more like now it's more, there's more skill involved, and as we advance in the years, it will just keep getting bigger and better, you know. But obviously, I'm still a fan of the old school way, you know what I mean?
Of course. Who's your favourite fighters now, Johnny? Who are the guys that you kind of tune into now? Who grabs your eye out of the world boxing scene?
Canelo and I mean, still, I'm still a big fan of the old boxers, Pete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, like obviously, when I've been away for 7.5 years, I haven't followed the boxing a whole heap. We don't get no paid TV or nothing in there, so I can only read the papers. But no, I haven't really touched base with the boxing in recent time.
No, mate, we'll catch up with it. Don't worry, and you'll be a regular at all the shows because you're one of our champion favourite sons, mate. And we mentioned Ange Goussis. He's doing a lot of good training work inside Joe. Well, he's got a program of boxing and he gets people fit. He was a real sort of hard nut himself, mate. A great kickboxer and boxer.
Yeah, no, he's a machine, and he's like an uncle to me. I love the bloke, and I hope I know he's going through court at the moment, and you know, I mean, there's been a bit of corruption and all that. So hopefully, you know, they see the wrongs, and he's back out here with us, Pete. But he's like family to me, and my father. He's doing it. I mean, he does so much for the young blokes now. I mean, he was holding the pads for me 3 times a week, and he's like a mentor. You know what I mean? If we weren't punching the pads, we'll sitting down talking, and I mean, he got me through a lot of my box. He got me through a lot of my jail time at the end, and tried to put me on the straight and narrow. You know, you'd always take me for walks and say, you know, you got to do this, you got to do that, family first. But he loves the boxing, Pete. He loves you, and
we're good mates. He's a good man.
He's a big name in the Greek community, as you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he's
I mean,
Russian
he's got a lot of
Greek.
family, a lot of friends.
Yeah, Russian Greek, a lot of power, and his brother's a trainer as well. His brother trained James Grimmer.
Yeah, Tommy, yeah.
Yeah, Tommy,
And
yeah,
he's,
yeah. So
yeah,
they're a great
he's a,
family. Mate,
yeah,
before we
Tommy,
sign
he's old school boxing. Yeah, he's very hard, yeah.
interview off, Johnny, what advice would you have to young boxers now coming through? What are the basics where you kind of go from fighting in the amateurs, you start off at a town hall, or you might start off, you know, like you did, and then you get to a certain point. What's the sort of method where you just keep going? What would you say? Don't overtrain early in your career, or make it always fun, or what would your advice be so you don't suffer burnout?
Listen, Pete, you just got. I mean, everyone's different to what I would think and what to others. But you know, to keep it basic, you know, I mean, just you know, for myself, from 14 years old to 28, I loved every day I done in the gym. I mean, the time when you get to that point where you're not loving it, and it becomes. I mean, if you're thinking about driving to the gym, you're thinking, what am I doing? I'd rather be doing this. You're probably better off just going to do that, because for me. For them, you know, 15 years I was involved in boxing and amateur boxing and professional boxing. I mean, I used to be speeding to get to the gym. I'd be the first. Kevin Hargraves and Dave Hegarty will tell you I was the first one in and the last one to leave. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to leave the gym once I was there. I mean, once any young, or I can say to any young kid, if you haven't got that feeling when you're at the gym, you know, it's not a sport for you. You know, it's one of them sports you got to go 100% or not at all. You know, it's like anything in life. If you're going to do it, you got to do it properly, Pete. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
only other advice I could give, like, obviously, you know, I went after boxing. I went to a bikie club, and I mean that all sort of stuff comes hand in hand in boxing, in the boxing world, as we know. It's, you know what I mean? It's boxing world's not all pretty. You know what I mean? So I mean, just you got to look at stories like myself and see where I ended up from that sort of lifestyle. And yeah, I mean, just stick to the boxing, you know what I mean?
No.
Stick to the boxing. If you once you get sick of the fighting, go into the training side of things. I mean, it's such a big family, the boxing world, isn't it? It's a good family, a big family. I mean, you can go any way with it, you know, promotions, training, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a trainer will drive an hour to watch a spun and an hour back, and he misses his family time because he invests into the box and the gym. And people don't realise how much gym life and family life take out of your family, your real family, because you miss engagements, you miss things because you've got boxing. It's such a full-on sport, and once you get in that sort of hub, they become your family, really, the people in the gym as well. So
That's right.
you know, people don't realise that it's so much emotionally invested, and everyone's got each other's backs. It's not a sport like footy where some people are divided or whatever. With boxing, it's one in all in mentality. So if you bag someone from that gym, you're basically bagging that person, you're bagging me. It's not different probably to a motorbike club. One in all in mentality, and it's the same with a gym.
100%.
Yeah.
And boxing's a lonely sport. I mean, it's not like a footy. It's not like a footy team. If a couple of players are having a bad day, you've got 16 other players to pick up the pieces. You know what I mean? If you're having a bad day in the boxing ring, you're probably going to be found out because it's only you and him. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that sort of mentality there creates a good. When obviously when you're in the gym, it's a team sport. You do it all together, and on the night you'll get in there, and it'll be 1-on-1, and you know, no one can, if you're having a bad night, no one can help you. So it really builds up that toughness and that mentality that you know when you're doing something 1-on-1, Pete, it's a bit different to a team sport, you know.
Well, mate, there was no bigger captain and no bigger leader than yourself. Thanks for taking time out, Johnny, and coming back on the show, mate. And I remember we probably had you on 19 years ago, so it's flashbacks. And you and your dad, Peter, as well, mate, terrific people, and your dad's awesome. Your whole family's awesome, and looking forward to seeing you ringside at the shows, mate, because we want you involved, Johnny. And if you can ever get a bit of energy, mate, we need a farewell fight. Let's put on a
let's talk about it, Pete. I reckon I got a couple more in me, Pete. I've been training, I'm fit. We'll have a talk. We'll have a talk, and I reckon we can put something together, Pete.
No, too easy, Johnny. Thanks for your time, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Love you, mate.
Bye, Johnny.
All right, mate.
Bye, mate.
Bye-bye. See you, mate.